Imagine holding in your hand a simple copper coin that traveled through the depths of the Great Depression into the uncertain dawn of recovery in the United States, a coin struck in 1936 when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president, and America was still grappling with unemployment, hunger, and political change. This is not just a penny. It is a time capsule that carries the stories of breadlines, dust bowls, and new hopes for the future. The 1936 Lincoln Wheat penny is a relic of resilience, a coin that passed through the hands of farmers buying seeds, families stretching every cent at general stores, and children saving coins in jars, hoping one day for something better. When you look at this coin, you are not just seeing Abraham Lincoln's portrait, you are seeing a symbol of stability, a design introduced in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth, and still trusted in a time when trust in banks and government had been shaken by the economic collapse of the 1930s. The wheat ears on the reverse, a symbol of harvest prosperity and the strength of the working class, reminded people that America could rebuild its fields, its factories, and its faith in the future. The 1936 penny was minted in massive quantities at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and each of these mints tells its own story. In that year, Philadelphia, without a mint mark, struck the largest share, flooding commerce with millions of cents that kept everyday transactions alive in an era when a single penny had genuine buying power. Candy, newspapers, and even a loaf of bread could sometimes be bought with just a few coins. Denver, with its D mint mark, produced fewer, and every Denver cent carried with it the pride of the American West, a reminder that the frontier spirit of hard work and independence had not disappeared. And San Francisco, with its S mint mark, added to the story with smaller mintages that circulated heavily on the West Coast, tying together the economic lifelines of California, Oregon, and the Pacific Northwest. Each 1936 cent was a participant in America's comeback story, but 1936 was also a year of innovation in coinage, for it was one of the first years in which the United States Mint experimented with proof coins, coins specially struck for collectors with polished dies and extra sharp detail. Only a few thousand of these proof 1936 Lincoln cents were made, and they represented not just a collectible, but also the rebirth of numismatics. After years of neglect during the Depression, the return of proofs symbolized confidence that people had both the resources and the desire to collect. Once again, holding a 1936 proof penny is like holding the sparkle of hope from that era where the mint said to America, "We still believe in beauty, craftsmanship, and history." Collectors today value the 1936 Lincoln penny, not only for its copper content or rarity, but for its layered meaning. It is a coin that connects us to Lincoln himself, whose legacy of unity and freedom was desperately needed as Americans in the 1930s sought reassurance. It connects us to Roosevelt, whose New Deal programs were reshaping government, society, and the role of the common man, and it connects us to ordinary families who cherished every cent, saving it, investing it, stretching its value across meals, rent, and survival. The 1936 penny saw jukeboxes roaring to life, Hollywood's golden age, bringing color films to audiences and swing music. Echoing through dance halls, it lived in pockets during the Berlin Olympics. When Jesse Owens defied Nazi propaganda, it jingled in purses as King Edward VIII abdicated the throne of England. It was there as the world crept closer to World War II, while Americans tried to hold on to peace. From a technical perspective, the 1936 penny was struck in bronze, an alloy of 95% copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. Its weight was 3.11 grams with a diameter of 19 millimeters and a plain edge. Its design, by Victor David Brenner, had already become iconic, with Lincoln's profile on the obverse, modeled from a photograph taken in 1864, and the wheat stalks on the reverse embodying growth, labor, and reward. Though it seemed ordinary in everyday circulation, the wear patterns, the strike quality, and the survival of mint-state examples make it a fascinating study for collectors. A 1936 penny found in pocket change might be worn smooth dark from circulation, but in high mint state grades with full red luster. It glows as though freshly struck, its value soaring in auctions, especially for rare proofs or perfectly preserved examples. Beyond value, this coin is also a mirror. To history, it passed through a year where America built monumental public works through the Works Progress Administration, bridges, dams, schools, and highways. Many of these projects still stand today, just as these pennies still circulate among collectors. The coin tells us that even in hard times, a nation can create lasting foundations. It also ties to the politics of 1936, the year Roosevelt won re-election in a landslide, promising to continue the New Deal programs. It was a year of hope for some, fear for others, and the penny carried those emotions in the everyday trade of goods and services. It reminds us that history is not abstract. It is lived and touched in objects as small as a 1-cent piece. Today, when a collector places a 1936 penny under a magnifying glass, they are not just searching for mint marks, doubling errors, or die variations. They are peering into the world of 1936, a world where the penny was not dismissed as trivial, but respected as a unit of survival. It was a time when children were taught thrift by saving coins in banks shaped like little houses, when traveling carnivals offered prizes for a handful of cents, and when men and women working for $1 a day knew exactly what 1 penny meant. It was the building block of budgets, the cornerstone of commerce, the smallest coin with the biggest role in sustaining lives. So the 1936 Lincoln wheat penny is more than copper, more than numismatic value. It is America itself in miniature. It is the spirit of survival in the Great Depression. It is the promise of recovery in the New Deal. It is the memory of Lincoln carried forward in the hardest times. It is a coin that tells us even the smallest denomination can carry the heaviest weight of history. Imagine holding in your hand a small copper coin struck in the year 1937, a penny that at first glance may seem like just another piece of pocket change, but in reality carries with it the weight of American history, economic struggle, artistry, and the legacy of one of the most recognized coins in the world, the Lincoln cent. This 1-cent coin is more than just a monetary tool. It is a story frozen in copper, a witness to the Great Depression, the New Deal, the slow recovery of the American economy, and the shifting tide of global events that would soon lead into the turmoil of World War II. The year 1937 itself stands as a critical moment in American history. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was serving his second term as President of the United States. His policies were reshaping American life. Unemployment was still high, but signs of growth and recovery were beginning to appear. Factories were slowly returning to full production. Farmers were still battling low prices. And yet, the nation was beginning to stand on stronger legs, and all the while coins like the 1937 penny were passing through the hands of millions of Americans, each transaction carrying with it a piece of the story of resilience and hope. The 1937 Lincoln wheat penny was part of a series first introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial birth of Abraham Lincoln. It was the very first time a real person, not a symbolic figure like Liberty, appeared on a regularly circulating U.S. coin, and it was chosen to celebrate one of the most revered figures in American history. President Abraham Lincoln, who preserved the Union during the Civil War and ended slavery in the United States. The obverse design of the coin featured the bust of Lincoln created by Victor David Brenner, a Lithuanian immigrant whose artistry left a permanent mark on American coinage, with the words, "In God We Trust," boldly arching above his head, the word liberty to the left, and the date, 1937, struck clearly on the right side. Beneath Lincoln's chin, just below that date depending on where the coin was minted, you may also see a mint mark such as D for Denver, or S for San Francisco, or no mark at all indicating it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. On the reverse side of the coin, the design carried 2 stalks of wheat flanking the words 1 cent United States of America, and above them the familiar phrase E pluribus unum, which translates to out of many one, a symbolic reminder of the unity of the nation. The wheat design was a tribute to America's agricultural foundation, the farmers who fed the country through hard times and prosperity alike, and it gave the penny the common name wheat cent, or wheat penny the 1937. Wheat penny, therefore, is not simply a small copper coin, but a cultural artifact linking Americans to their roots in farming, to the ideals of Lincoln, and to the resilience of a nation emerging from the economic devastation of the Great Depression. The mintage numbers for the 1937 penny were substantial, but each mint location told its own story. In Philadelphia, more than 309 million coins were struck, while Denver produced over 50 million, and San Francisco added around 34 million. The high mintage means these coins were common in circulation, and most people at the time never considered them rare or collectible. They were simply money used to buy a loaf of bread, a newspaper, or a gallon of gasoline. Yet today, collectors see them through an entirely different lens. Because while common examples may not be extremely valuable, the coin becomes much more significant when we examine its condition, mint errors, and historical background. The 1937 penny is composed primarily of copper with a small amount of tin and zinc. And because of this composition, the coin develops a natural patina over time. Some remain bright red if well preserved, while others tone into brown or deep chocolate shades. Numismatists categorize these colors into red, brown, and brown, with full red examples being the most desirable since copper coins oxidize quickly, finding a true bright red. 1937 penny is uncommon and highly collectible, especially in higher uncirculated grades. Collectors rely on grading systems like those of the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Company, which rank coins on a 70-point scale, with 70 representing a perfect, flawless coin errors, and varieties also add intrigue to the story of the 1937 penny. Like all coins of the era, small mistakes during minting could produce rare anomalies that today are highly sought after by collectors. Examples include doubled die obverses, where the date or lettering appears; doubled repunched mint marks, where the D or S mint marks were punched more than once, creating shadows or distortions; and off-center strikes, where the coin design is visibly shifted due to a misaligned plancher. These errors often went unnoticed by the public at the time, but decades later, collectors prize them as unique, one-of-a-kind pieces within the series. Beyond the technical aspects of mintage and errors, the true importance of the 1937 penny lies in its historical backdrop. Consider the American family of that time balancing recovery from the darkest years of the Depression with growing concerns about political instability abroad. Europe was witnessing the rise of fascism, and Adolf Hitler's power in Germany was reaching dangerous new heights. Yet in the United States, people held tightly to everyday life. Children traded wheat pennies in schoolyards, shopkeepers counted them in their tills, and citizens saved them in jars at home, unknowingly preserving a piece of history for future generations. The penny symbolized continuity and trust in the American economy during uncertain times as the years passed. Many of these pennies circulated heavily, wearing down Lincoln's features and the fine lines of the wheat stalks, but others survived in pristine rolls tucked away by careful hands. Those survivors now allow collectors and historians to study not only the artistry of the design, but also the narrative of America's journey through the late 1930s. For numismatists, the 1937 penny offers both accessibility and depth. It is common enough that beginners can easily obtain one, yet complex enough in its varieties and conditions to fascinate advanced collectors for decades. So when we hold a 1937 penny today, we hold more than just a coin. We hold a story of artistry created by Victor David Brenner. We hold a piece of Franklin Roosevelt's America. We hold the struggles of the Depression and the quiet resilience of farmers, workers, and families. We hold the transition of America from hardship to growth, from isolation to a looming role on the world stage. And above all, we hold a direct connection to Abraham Lincoln, the man whose legacy of unity and freedom is forever immortalized in copper. This tiny coin becomes a doorway into understanding a nation at a turning point in its history, a story that can indeed fill hours with rich detail and meaning. And it is for this reason that the 1937 penny deserves not just to be collected, but to be studied, remembered, and appreciated as one of the great treasures of American coinage.